Something that always happens to me whenever I take my Adderall is that about 20 minutes after taking the pill, the first milligram or so starts to hit, and the little Adderall voices get in my head and tell me to answer my emails and reply to all the emails that I've been ignoring for a week because I hate replying to emails. But at the same time, I enter into this phase of the medication where I cannot read. Something happens to me and I just cannot actually read. And so I'll answer the email, I'll type out an email, I'll write a reply or whatever, and I'm so detached from the English language that I'm convinced I've written gibberish. I'm convinced it isn't even in English, it doesn't even look like English. And so I go back to read the email to check myself, and I can't read. So by the time I get to the end, I still don't know whether or not what I just read was gibberish. And that's kind of how I felt about this book. Hi love bugs, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys about this book. Sorry it took me so long to get a new video to you guys. I started grad school and it's actually a lot of work, you know? They don't tell you that before you start. They do, but I thought they were lying. But yeah, if any of you guys also take Adderall, you can let me know if that's a normal thing that happens or if I should go to a neurologist. And if you don't take Adderall, or if you do, let me know if you think I should get bangs. The book that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This book was extremely popular on TikTok. It has like 1 million reviews on Goodreads, so it's extremely popular. Huge bestseller. My review is not going to make a dent in the author's profits or reception or anything, so please take it with a grain of salt. I really would like to be a person who reads romance novels, especially these forgive me, these kind of trashy romance novels. I think that I really wish that I liked them more, because the people on BookTok who just talk about romance novels seem so happy. And so as always, I'm going to try to strike a balance of having genuine criticism, actual things to say about the book, and just having a little bit of fun with it, making a little bit of fun of it. But yeah, this is all in good faith, this is well-intentioned. Again, the author is not going to give a fuck if I didn't personally like her book, because she's already made probably so much money off of this. So yeah, let's get into it. Without further ado, our main female character is Anastasia. I know that her name is probably intended to be pronounced Anastasia, but she also goes by Stas and Stasi, so I feel in my head it was Anastasia, and I'm just gonna go with that. But I apologize to anyone named Anastasia who is being robbed of their representation right now. Anastasia is a student at UCMH, which is not real, but it is the University of California, Maple Hills, and she's a figure skater, and her skating partner sucks. His name is Aaron. He's super rude. He's just kind of a bad dude. Did you hear that? That's in my notes from chapter 1, so this is off the bat. This is not a slow burn, this guy sucks. This is an immediate, this guy sucks. Yeah, she's kind of a party girl. She likes to go out, she likes to have fun, she's very hardworking, but very, we're gonna maybe talk about this later, very anxious, very scheduled and planning. She's also kind of a party girl. She likes to let loose, and so she's got this guy Ryan that she's seeing on the side. He does not matter at all. Just forget I said his name. I only brought it up so that I could make this my first genuine criticism of the book, is that Ryan can be completely cut from the story and it would not change the plot at all. Ryan is so boring and I hate him. I actually don't have an opinion on him because he doesn't do anything. Ryan is just there. Ryan is just a loaf of white bread that is in your kitchen, and you're not, I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor, but he's just there and he doesn't have to be. And then our main dude character is Nathan, who is the captain of the hockey team. Need I say more? I do remember that there was a couple, maybe a year ago or so, there was some big scandal about a bunch of girls, a bunch of women from booktok going and harassing real life hockey players and like their wives because of the whole hockey romance trend that was going on. That is wild. So one of the freshmen on Nate's hockey team got into this, I don't know, predicament that resulted in the ice rink being trashed. So he slept with this girl from UCLA, their rival school, and then found out that she had a boyfriend, and so he ghosted her, and all the people from UCLA came over and trashed their rink. And Nathan knows this. I don't know why I said his full name. I guess we're not friends. We really don't know each other like that. So Nate is like, I'm going to keep your secret. I'm not going to tell anybody. And then later, he sees Anastasia at a party. All they do is party and skate. Like, really, I know I said this book was at college, but that is so irrelevant to the plot. It, like, does not matter at all. They don't go to class. I think they say that they study, but, like, we don't really see them doing anything. Nate is studying sports medicine, so you would think that he's taking a pretty hefty course load, like a pre-med course load, but that doesn't seem to be the case. He's not stressing about OChem while he's doing the plot of this book. Not that there's a plot of this book. And I forgot to say, the result of the ice rink being trashed is that the figure skaters and the hockey players have to share a rink for a little while. Oh no, our two characters are gonna have to interact. I don't mind this setup. Like, I'm gonna say some positive things about this book too. I think this is like a pretty classic romance setup, and I love a rom-com, you know? I love love. So I thought this was cute, you know? This is fine. It doesn't, I don't have anything negative to say about this setup. They're gonna have to share the ice. Uh-oh, tension. So Anastasia is already like kind of a little bit annoyed about that because her competition is coming up and this is going to infringe upon her ice time because the hockey players also have to use the rink. And so there already is a little bit of tension between them. And then he lies and he says he doesn't know why the rink got trashed. But then immediately after this, her shitty skating partner tells her, oh, it's because this kid on the hockey team was with this girl, knocked her up, and then ghosted her. And I think that this is things get a little bit convoluted as far as this. I think needlessly so convoluted about this whole him getting with this girl plotline because we find out that he maintains that she didn't get pregnant. And so we find out that this is actually like a completely other thing. It's a different girl and a different guy, a different unrelated pregnancy. And so it's just a little bit like why are there so many things going on right now? Like, this is not a conflict that needs to exist. It can just be that he lied. Like, that can be the only conflict. I don't know why we had to make it more complicated than that. It's kind of this thing that the book has with especially like the male characters except for Aaron, where like none of them can ever be in the wrong. So this kid, who is just like some random kid on the hockey team, he can't have actually done something wrong. He has to be the one who's like the victim here because he didn't know that she had a girlfriend and like they trashed the rink anyway, and it's not actually that he did something bad by getting her pregnant and then ghosting. Like, he's the victim here. You know, it's like, I don't know where I'm really going with this critique, but like, it's just this kind of like thing where it's like, why not just stick to one conflict? But no, we have to make it so that this kid on the hockey team is like this perfect angel who can't be wrong because the hockey boys can't do anything wrong. It's like, if it was true that he got her pregnant and maybe he didn't know that, or he intentionally hid that from Nathan, I wouldn't care. I don't know this kid. He doesn't matter to me. He's not significant to the plot. And it would be, I think, a little bit of a more genuine source of tension between them because Nate comes out of this looking pretty good. He covered for this kid who has trouble at home, who actually didn't do anything wrong in the first place. So he's looking like a stand-up guy once Anastasia finds out the truth. But no, we can't do anything wrong ever. There was a little bit of like, I wrote down that the editing kind of sucked in this book. There was just like a couple of things that, I don't know, the delivery and like the grammar, some stuff just wasn't super clear. There were a lot of like missing commas, and maybe that's just like, I don't know, an Oxford comma kind of thing where it's not completely necessary, but it would make the book a little bit, read a little bit smoother, a little bit less ambiguous. So I would have put more commas and stuff in here, but whatever, who gives a shit? There were also a couple of places where the writing was so colloquial that it was a little bit difficult to read. Like, it just took me an extra second to read it because certain words were omitted or certain grammar things were omitted, and like in conversation I would have understood, but in writing it did take me an extra beat to kind of figure out what it was meaning. Here, I'll see if I have an example. This is on page 43 of my Kindle version. I don't know what it would be in print, but this is the part where Aaron says, I suppose I'm upset now I know why the rink was trashed. It's like, it just kind of took me a second to understand what that meant, because I think normally people would say, I suppose I'm upset now that I know why the rink was trashed. And you don't need that often. Like, there are a lot of grammar parts where people have extraneous that's, and so you kind of want to cut them out whenever you can. But I feel like in this book there were a lot of spaces that would have benefited from a that, just a lot of missing that's and missing commas that don't really necessarily impact the quality of the work or the way that the book flows, but would have made it a little bit clearer, immediately clearer. Because like it's one of those things where I think colloquially people do omit certain words like that, but when you read it in print, it just isn't as fast. It doesn't have the same, it doesn't do the same thing in your brain. You just need a little bit more clarity than you do in speech, I think. Writing overall, I guess I'll pause for a second to talk about the writing overall, and I'll probably come back to this point as we go on. The writing overall is, I think, fine. It's like a little bit awkward, and it's kind of mechanical in a way, where things are described in just simple sentences, flat out right, and it's just kind of all the information is really given to you. This book has a really big problem with telling instead of showing. There will be like long passages where the characters just tell you how they feel, tell you what is around them, what is happening around them, and just kind of like expositing it to you instead of describing the events, describing their emotions or their physiological reactions to things, just telling you exactly what is happening in plain terms. And it's not necessarily bad, like it's not awful, but it just isn't as good, like it just loses a lot of that sense of reality and groundedness to just have everything exposited towards you. But moving on back to the plot, the skaters and there's this weird part where the skaters and the hockey players have to do this speed dating icebreaker game. That's where the title of the book comes from. They do an icebreaker game to get to know each other. Why? And I know that I said, oh, I love rom-coms. I was excited for this book as like a silly little romance, but this just doesn't really make sense to me because you're on the ice at different times. Why do you need to know these people? That is not your business. Also, they have to talk to each other, like in their speed dating rounds, they have to talk to each other for a full 5 minutes. That is an insanely long amount of time to speak to someone in a speed dating round, because how many people are doing, like, this is gonna take forever. This is gonna take like hours. 2 minutes max. Like, this is insane. Also, it describes one of the interactions that she has with one of the other hockey players, I think with JJ, and the conversation, like, we see the entire thing start to finish. There's absolutely no way it takes 5 minutes. There's no possible way. Or here's an example of Anastasia's internal dialogue. I know it might be weird to think about the guy you have casual sex with and your best friend's fake arch nemesis together, but an Abbott plus Rothwell relationship would be the type teenage girls cry over because of how perfect it is. Just like a weird sentence. I don't even know if I have a a critique for it. I try to have really like academic critiques. Just really weird. It's just constructed in a way that is kind of clunky and just like very flat, very unemotional. Something that the book also does routinely, and which I will talk about at the very end, is that it just repeatedly mentions characters' last names, and I know it doesn't matter at all. Here's why it pisses me off so bad. It's because it doesn't matter. It's so neutral. I'm sure nobody else in the world has an opinion on it, but I found it so annoying that every time we talk about one of the characters, we have to also mention their last name. I don't know why that bothered me so much. It's just that, like, they would be talking about a character and they'd be like, first name, last name, did this, and or just last name. They would just refer to a character as their last name. Why? Just call them by one name. Just do that, because there's already a gazillion side characters. I don't need this many names. I don't have the mental capacity to have this many names in my brain when basically none of them are like really that relevant to the plot. I guess that's another big critique that I have. It's just that there are so many side characters and we get these like little info dumps of just backstory on the side characters and explanations for the side characters' motivations and what they're doing and what they've done in the past and their family life and all that. Who gives a fuck? Like, on the one hand, who gives a fuck? On the other hand, I mean, it's kind of cute that they have like a very dedicated friend group, and that they're very involved with their friends. You get a very real sense of these characters as people with lives. But on the other hand, not really, because we don't really interact with a lot of these characters a lot. We just get a lot of exposition on them that doesn't feel very necessary, and doesn't really lead to them feeling like more developed characters. Just kind of provides like backstory on the characters that is not really relevant. Like, I don't care. I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't care about JJ's mom. Like, I just don't care. But yeah, I mean, that's just something that kind of irritated me. And I can't justify that. I can't look you in the eyes and say this is a valid thing to be annoyed by. I can't do that. I can't say this is a genuine critique on the literary quality of this work. I can't. It's just a personal thing that irritated me specifically and probably no one else in the world. So let's move on. Yeah, she and Ryan are no longer really an item. They were friends with benefits, but now they're just friends. Even though, because he wants to get with this girl named Olivia, who gives a fuck? Like who cares? Actually, don't piss me off. Like, who cares? Who cares? Who is Olivia? Who is that? Why do I care about Olivia? And I think that the reason that there are so many side characters and that we get so many like little things all at once is that this is part of a series, and the other books in the series follow different characters who appear in this book. So I imagine that there might be, maybe Olivia is relevant in one of them. But in this book, we see her like once. We see her at a party, and then I guess she and Ryan wants to get with her. Ask me if I give a fuck, Ryan. I don't care. Anyway, not to get too heated, but he wants to get with Ryan. Oh my god. He wants to get with Olivia, so she and Olivia are no longer going to be benefiting. But then they still sleep together in the same bed, like, and he's not wearing a shirt. So it's just like a little bit weird that she's like, oh, we're just best friends now. He's just my best friend. She kind of reminds me of those TikToks of like the girl best friend. I'll try to find an example. It's just like, it's this TikTok series. It's like the girl best friend. It's like POV, you're somebody's boyfriend and I'm the girl best friend, and it's just the like, I don't know, little tension that exists between the girl best friend who secretly wants to get with the best friend and his girlfriend. She's really girl best friend in this scenario. And I am all for, like, I have many friends who are dudes, and I don't subscribe to the belief that men and women can't just be friends. Like, I absolutely think you can have a very productive and good friendship between the genders. I think you should. I think that's important. This is I think crossing that line a little bit. I hope that I'm not sounding a little bit sexist when I say this, because I really, it's not all girl best friends. It's the girl best friend, like TM, you know, the specific brand of girl best friend. I hope that I'm making that clear. But yeah, so that happens. She goes to another party. The tension with her and Nathan is starting to boil over. So they have like a mini hookup, like not a full hookup, but you know, a lead up to a hookup. And yeah, I mean, we all know that that's the real purpose of this book, is just a vessel for these scenes. So in that capacity, you know, she's a focused girl. So she goes back to the ice in the next chapter, and she's trying to land a quad lutz turn. I don't know anything about skating, so maybe I'll put a little video up here of what a quad lutz is. But she wants to learn a quad lutz. Whoa, that was a Freudian slip. She wants to learn a quad lutz. They go to another party. This is another thing, is that she's training for the like her goal is the Olympics. So she's training for the qualifiers because she eventually wants to be on the Olympic team. And she's partying a lot. Like, and I don't say that to shame anybody. I'm just saying that I think that most athletes who are this serious about going to the Olympics, like being one of the best in the world, are not going to be partying every single night, are not going to be drinking every single night and like being hungover in the morning, because it's just not good for you. Frankly, it's just like not good for your body to party every weekend or drink every weekend. It's just like not great for you. And there's this whole kind of subplot about her relationship with food, because we'll get to it, so no spoilers, but as an athlete she does have to be very conscious of what she's eating and the way that she eats. And I don't want to affirm any negative eating behavior, but alcohol has a lot of calories typically. Like, alcohol has a lot of shit in it, and like mixed drinks have a lot of shit in them that is not good for you. So she is so conscious of her body, and so kind of obsessive. She has an eating disorder. I'll just say that. It's, I guess, not a spoiler. She definitely has an eating disorder, and she keeps track of everything she eats, and she has this meal plan that she follows really strictly. How does alcohol fit into that? You know, because alcohol has a lot of calories. And I say this, I feel like I'm allowed to say this because like many teenage girls before me, I also had an eating disorder. So I feel like I am qualified to say that this is something you would think about going into a party, is like, how many calories am I going to consume in alcohol, in mixed drinks, in shit like party food, like shitty party food. So I think that would have been something that could be interesting, definitely, to examine, is her relationship to partying in relation to her being an athlete and having this eating disorder. Because I don't think that it's necessarily like a bad thing that the character is both this very intense, very meticulous athlete and a party girl. I think that's fine. But the way that those two things interacted, I think could have used a little bit more explanation, a little bit more depth to make it seem a little bit more real. But that's just me. I guess I'll leave it there. They're driving back from the party, and they're in the back of an Uber. Things happen in the back of this Uber. In the back of this Uber with all their friends also in the Uber. In the Uber with all their friends also in the Uber. Some inappropriate behavior happens. I could not believe this. This was the worst. There are a lot of like crazy explicit scenes. This one is the one that I was like, no, don't do that, because she's thinking about it, and she's like, oh, nobody's gonna notice because they're all listening to really loud music and they're all really drunk right now. Girl, you're in an Uber. You're in 10 cubic feet of face. Speed? Did I say speed? I forgot if they said what kind of car it was, but I'm just imagining like a Toyota Camry. They don't have to hear you. They can turn around and look at you. There's somebody in the seat next to you. Like they say that they had to like pay the Uber driver extra so that they could fit more people into the car. There's somebody in the seat, in the middle seat next to you. They don't have to hear any. They're going to hear, first of all, because they're right next to you. Second of all, this was insane. This was insane. This was insane. This was crazy. This girl. Girl. We have to have a little bit of decorum. I don't say this to shame anybody, but let's have a little bit of decorum. Girl. Have a little bit of respect for your friends who are also in the car with you and did not consent to this and would not, I imagine, consent to this. And I think that throughout the book, which is weird because throughout the book I was getting this very distinctive sense that the author was a millennial, like potentially an older millennial. But this was like a Wattpad level of understanding of intoxication just throughout, is that whenever characters acted drunk, they acted very much how I read drunk people in Wattpad at age 13, not really knowing what alcohol did to the body or how drunk people acted, like never having interacted really with people at a party. That was my level of, that was basically how the alcohol acted in this story, and like how drunk people acted in this story was very much in line with a young teenager's understanding of alcohol. Because this would not do anything, and it's actually like is proven in the book, because as soon as they get out of the Uber, her friend is like, "Did you guys in the Uber?" And she says this kind of excited. She's like, "Oh my god, like you're so crazy. You just fucked in the back of the Uber that we were all in. That's so quirky, that's so silly. I'm so proud of you." Call me naive, but I don't think it matters how liberated your friends are, how cool your friends are. I don't think any of them are going to be chill with you doing this in the back of the Uber while they were all also in the Uber without, like, also there's a driver. I guess we should maybe focus on that, is that there's a driver who is presumably, I should hope, not drunk, who is gonna be seeing this shit in the rear view. Gonna be, oh my god, I can't even imagine. But yeah, I just don't think it's very girl boss slay to do this in the back of somebody else's car while there's other people in the car and there's a driver in the car. That can lead me to another like bigger conversation, bigger discussion, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff about these romance books that have very cartoony covers, and that is one that Icebreaker has. I think really one of the kind of pioneers of this cover genre is Icebreaker, where the characters are in this very cutesy illustration style, and it looks kind of, I think that it does give off more rom-com, more cutesy, PG-13 maybe vibes than what is accurate. It's like, this book is explicit. This book is rated R. This book is rated something else. The conversation that I've been seeing, especially on TikTok, especially with like the communities that are very into this type of book and the communities that are not very into this type of book, is this idea of like whether or not that is appropriate to have on a book that is so explicit. Should you have these very cutesy covers? As far as it kind of giving off the idea of being almost like a tween romance, something very young, something that is appropriate for young teenagers to read. And there is like the side of the argument that says this is inappropriate because it gives off a false impression to people who are buying it, and especially young kids and young teenagers who might buy it thinking that it is cute and wholesome, and they're actually going to be getting straight smut And then there is the other camp of people who are saying that it is really a parent's responsibility to see what their kid is reading or not, whether or not something is appropriate for a child to be reading, and that is completely the responsibility of the parent. You should be allowed to have a cutesy cover and still have the content that is portrayed in this book. I think that I kind of fall maybe somewhere in the middle, because on the one hand, I do definitely see the desire to have a cutesy cover on your books, a cutesy, wholesome, pretty cover with nice illustration. The drawing in this book is great. Like it's a pretty drawing, and I can definitely see the desire to have that, especially because so many like erotica books have the ugliest fucking covers ever. I definitely see why people want this type of cover, and I don't think that that is an issue in itself. But on the other hand, I definitely understand where other people are coming from, because I do think that it is a parent's responsibility to know what their kid is reading and to know what kind of media their kid is consuming. But if you bought this book for your kid, the indicators are there that this is appropriate. Like, in a marketing standpoint, there are certain indicators that a marketer gives to the audience to show what the content is. And this book is very much, this cover genre is very much giving tween, giving teenager, giving young, giving rom-com, giving cute. It's not at all giving explicit. And so if you are a parent looking at this book, all the indicators, all the signs are there that it is appropriate. I think that it is like a little bit willfully obtuse to say that parents should be singularly responsible for deciding what content their kid is able to consume, when the marketing team does also have a responsibility to show those indicators to a parent. A parent shouldn't have to Google every single book that they're buying for their kid in order to know whether or not it is appropriate, because the marketing team does have a responsibility to show their audience what the product is and what is contained within the product. So part of a parent's ability to decide whether or not they want to buy this book for their kid or not is from context clues in the marketing. And so if this book is shelved under romance and it has this cartoon cover that's very cute and very wholesome, the indicators are there that it is appropriate and that it does not contain content that would not be appropriate for their kid. So like, yes, ultimately it is a parent's responsibility to research what their child is reading, especially if they're under a certain age, like under, I don't know, 15 or something. But beyond that, like, it is completely reasonable and logical for a parent to look at the cover of this book and think that it is appropriate. It is. And I know that because my mom, when I was at Target, was talking about some of the romance books on their shelves, and my brother tried to tell her that, like, oh, this book is probably not appropriate for our little sister. And she was like, why? It's a cartoon. Like, it has a cartoon cover. It's this, like, cute illustration. So it is completely logical and reasonable for parents to not realize that this is explicit content. And I don't think that that is a fault on the part of the book. This is more a comment on the marketing and publishing industry. It's just kind of a weird trend that I've noticed. I'm all for books like this getting better covers, because yeah, a lot of adult book covers suck. A lot of them are really ugly. But I do think that there are valid concerns on both sides. So anyway, let's move on from that. Ew. Sorry, I looked at my notes. They start wanting to... Nathan asks her if she wants to play house with him so that she cannot be stressed. They're gonna play house. That is fucking vile. I'm so sorry. It's another one of those things that, like, really should bother me, because it's I guess it's cute, you know? I guess it's cute. Whatever. I guess I can see a person who believes that this is cute existing. I guess. But to me, I read this and I was like, ugh, oh my god. Ew. Don't be nasty. Ew. Ugh. Anyway, Aaron says that he broke his arm because of the hockey team, and he's obviously lying. Like, obviously this is not true, because Aaron has had a thing for, like, he's had it out for Nathan ever since he and Anastasia started to get together, because Aaron is controlling and manipulative and a bad guy. Obviously, he's fucking lying, but he's like, oh, this means that me and Anastasia can't compete because we can't skate because I have to, like, lift her over my head, and I can't because I don't have an arm. My arm is broken. Obviously, this is a fib. He's fibbing. But Nate takes the blame for it, and so it's clear that Aaron is pretty possessive of Anastasia. He says the iciest thing about her is her heart. That is so embarrassing. That is so cringe. There's also, like, a reference to The Office in here, which I think is just something that, like, I can't explain, but I truly, in my heart, I don't even know if this is accurate, but I feel in my heart that there is some kind of a generational divide between people of, like, 25 years or older and people younger than that about The Office. Me, personally, I think The Office is so cringe. I can't, it's not funny to me. It's so cringe. And so it is also just, like, a personal thing that whenever I see references to The Office, I cringe. I can't enjoy it. There's also this other really cringy line that I don't even think that I can read out loud because I just don't really want a video of me saying that existing on the internet. It's just, like, some things that I was like, is this from a tweet? Like, did you read this in a tweet? Anastasia has been in therapy for 10 years because she has pretty severe anxiety, and I think, like, maybe OCD, but I'm not a doctor. I think the vibe was that she's so neurotic. She's got this planner that she uses, like, religiously and fills out for everything, and she schedules in everything, including her hookups and stuff, and, like, she's so meticulous. She's so neurotic about everything. And I thought that, you know, maybe this is a reflection of me rather than her. I thought she was pretty normal. Maybe this is an indication that I have severe OCD, but I thought she was fine. You know, I read that she'd been in therapy for 10 years and I was like, why? She seems completely fine to me, but, you know, maybe that's not true. But also, it's a little bit weird that she's been in therapy for 10 years and she's been partners with Aaron for 2 years, and the therapist doesn't realize that Aaron is abusive. Like, Aaron is emotionally and, like, mentally abusive to her, definitely. He's so controlling, he's so manipulative. The way that we're gonna get a little bit into the more specifics of it in a second, but, like, he's very much is abusive to her, and the therapist didn't pick up on it. And, like, yeah, I know that the therapist is only hearing from Anastasia, so, like, he only knows what she tells him, but what she says should be pretty troubling. Like, I feel like a professional should pick up on it. Aaron is cleared, so they can compete now. Made a real stink about it. But then, they have a competition, so, like, of course, he's able to compete magically, even though he's a broken arm. You'd think it would take, you know, forever to heal, but he's fine. But they compete, and Nate finds out that Aaron dropped her in one of the lifts because his wrist gave out, and he dropped her. But they still qualified for nationals. And so, of course, Nate drives over there in his Tesla. Of course, he has a Tesla. He's exactly the kind of person to have a Tesla. And Aaron can't skate again because his wrist is fucked. And so Nathan decides that he's going to be her skating partner until Aaron is ready, which is good because it means that he can still be on the ice even though he's not allowed to be with the hockey team anymore. And for her, I think is only bad. Like, I think this is absolutely not an equivalent relationship, because, like, he's getting practice on the ice, he's getting coordination on the ice, she's got some bumbling idiot who can't, like, it would be so difficult to have to learn how to figure skate for, like, 6 weeks to be up to the same level that you're even able to keep pace with this girl who is on track to go to the Olympics. This is one of the most unrealistic parts of the book to me. It's just that, like, I understand that he's a good skater because he's a hockey player, but it's completely different. And that's something that they do address, is that he has to get new skates for this. And I was thinking that he would go into this and he would just mark the routine with her. Like, he would help her, like, mark all the places that she has to do certain moves. He would be there to just kind of like a body double for Erin, but he wouldn't actually do the jumps. She made this bitch learn how to do jumps, and so obviously he wasn't at the same level, the same types of jumps, the same level as Erin. But like, why would you even do that to this man? Like, it's just cruel to do this to this man because he's not gonna be that good. And I feel like for her, it is just not really that beneficial to have this guy who doesn't know how to figure skate skating with. Like, I think that she would honestly just get more out of it if she just did the routine by herself and like marked all the places that it's a lift or that is some kind of partner work that she needs another body there to use. Like, I genuinely think that this probably did more harm than good. I don't, but maybe a figure skater can let me know. I just have some logistical questions. I just don't think that this would be very, very helpful to her. But another thing that makes the book feel very millennial is, and like specifically older millennial, is there's a lot of onesies. We had a Halloween party a little while ago. I didn't talk about it because it didn't matter. And the boys were wearing Minion onesies. What year is it? So we haven't gotten to Christmas yet, but like they also have Christmas onesies. And she's like, "Oh, I just wanna be in my onesie with my boyfriend." It's like, girl, I don't even, like, is that something people still do? The whole onesie thing? Like, I thought we were over that in like 2011. I thought, okay. But that would make sense because the author would have been young then. Not that 30 is old, but it just was a little, it was just a little, and it was things like this that made me think the author is like later 30s, like mid to late 30s. So I'm like, this would have been cool like 10 years ago, you know. If you'd hit this shit 15 years ago, the Minion thing would have been great. The onesie thing would have been great, but you know. Now it's just a little bit cringy. I think I like to think that I'm still young and in touch with what the young people like. So to me, this just seemed like criminally millennial. But anyway, I think I missed exactly at which point this happened, but she moves in with the hockey skating guys because Erin is being such a bitch. And she's just like living in the frat house now. It's not a real frat house, but that's just kind of equivalent to how I think this house is run, full of a bunch of hockey playing men. She's living in the frat house. This would be my worst nightmare. This would be a nightmare for me. Because I forgot to mention earlier, she and Erin and one of their other friends all live together, so she had to move out because she was living with Erin, which makes sense, you know, he's a dick. But moving into this house full of 21-year-old boys, Jesus, like, I would rather sleep in a tent. Nate looks at her food plan and realizes that her food plan, which Erin made for them, and realizes that she's been under eating like pretty severely because he's controlling her meals, and so she's not getting nearly enough calories, enough protein, especially because she's an athlete. Like, she's working hard. She needs a lot of protein, and so he's like, yeah, this is fucked. Like, he's fucking with you. Like, this is really bad. And I agree, of course, that is really bad. And it definitely doesn't help the fact that she has an eating disorder because now she's so obsessed with calories and she's not even eating enough. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty bad. She's been, yeah, like Erin is like straight up like is abusive. It's really bad. He's talking shit. So Henry, another one of those skating guys I haven't talked about, I actually really like Henry. He's really sweet. Henry punches him, which is good because Erin says some pretty rough things in this exchange. I'm not gonna lie. The first note that I wrote is Disney Channel insults because, you know, the first couple were softballs. They were pretty Disney Channel level insults towards Anastasia, and also that she's gonna baby trap him. This is a big thing. They like bring this up several times, and I'm gonna bring it up again at the end because he says that she's gonna baby trap him so that she can get his money. And they are having unprotected sex. Is what's crazy. Is that Anastasia says that she's on this birth control that completely stops her period. Which, first of all, I don't know what she's talking about. I'm really not. I guess this is my bad because I'm a woman, so I should know these things. I really don't know which birth control completely stops your period, but it kind of doesn't sound healthy. It also says that nobody will ever love her because she's adopted, so like her birth parents didn't love her. Crazy thing to say, and I think a little bit of a Disney Channel level insult, because I just don't know if this is something that the kids say anymore. I just don't know if this is like an insult that people would say anymore. But maybe people who are adopted can let me know. This really seems like a kind of an early 2000s like Disney Channel villain insult. So Henry punches him. Good for him. And well, okay, Nate's dad shows up. And Nate clearly has daddy issues because his dad is this like super high pressure, kind of mean to him. Was really disappointed when he didn't want to study business and like take over the family business. Instead, he wanted to play hockey. And look, they're so rich. I think that maybe like the reason I kind of struggle to feel bad for him is just that they're so rich, which is not like good. I know that's not a kind thing to do, but they're so rich. Dad is like, oh, you don't mind the money when you're driving around your $100,000 car that I bought and I'm paying your tuition. Clock that shit. Yeah. It's Christmas time, so they're wanting to go home to their families. Anastasia's from Seattle, so they're gonna go visit her family first, and then go to Colorado to visit his house. They don't think anybody's gonna be there, but he just wants to go home, I guess. He could just stay in California. Like, they aren't at a dorm; they're at a house that they're either bought or renting. I think maybe bought even, that his dad like bought the house for them. So like he could just stay, but whatever. He wants to go back to Colorado and be alone. So they are gonna do that for Christmas. They both want to tell each other that they love each other. It's been 3 months, so we're moving quick. At his house, which is this huge mansion in Colorado. It's this enormous mansion. They've got this huge lake in the backyard that's frozen over so they can skate on it. Anastasia goes too close to the edge and falls through the ice, almost dies. He has to like pull her out and like almost like give her CPR, like make her not so hypothermic, and and then it's like not really relevant for the rest of the book. It's just kind of like, oh shit, that was crazy. And then we don't talk about it again. It's like, you could have died. This man saved your life. It was around this point in the book that I started to equate the quality to like a Hallmark movie, because it just really did give that Hallmark Christmas feel. They wear onesies. Have this little gift exchange. He gives her an iPad, which is of course is very nice. So he tells her like, oh, you can use this iPad for all of your schoolwork and for keeping track of everything, so you don't have to use your planner anymore. You can have it all in one space. And that's a very nice thought. But me personally, as someone who is also very neurotic, if somebody gave me an alternative way to keep track of everything, like as opposed to what I've been using for years and what is my system, I wouldn't use it. Like, it's very nice of him to get her an iPad and she's very happy about it. But me, I would still be using that paper planner because, you find a system and it works for you and nothing else in the world. That is just like a little thing that made me think that maybe the author does not have the same like anxieties that Anastasia does, because if it were me, like, this would not be helpful. Like, this would not alleviate my stress at all, because I have a system, But she's very happy, and they give each other gifts, and she wears his jersey, and that's her gift to him, and it makes him go crazy, and they almost have some wild sex, but then his sister comes in, and she's like, whoa. And their dad is also coming home. He's like bringing the groceries from the car. Nathan is fully naked in the kitchen. It's funny, okay? It's a good scene. Yeah, so he didn't think that anybody was going to be home, but they are home. And so now Anastasia gets to meet his family. Yay. His dad is mean, and he makes Sasha, his sister, do conditioning instead of vacation. Like, he took her on vacation to the beach, but it was actually just a training camp because she's this skiing prodigy. And And also they own a ski resort. Like the business that he wanted Nathan to take over is a ski resort, and Nathan has this whole speech about how, oh, I don't understand why he wanted me to take over the ski resort when my sister is a prodigy skier and she probably would have been much more willing and able to do that. It's the patriarchy. Fuck the patriarchy. He says like fucking patriarchy. Yeah, I get it. He's a feminist. Like, okay, you don't have to hit me on the head with it. I feel like our standards in this book are maybe a little bit low, because this idea of him being like, oh, he should just give it to my sister, he's just being really sexist, is like, oh, he's so feminist, he's so good. There are other parts where like she's drunk and they don't have sex, and where he's drunk and they don't have sex, and he tells her, like, as she's putting him to bed, he's like, Anastasia, drunk people can't consent to sex. It's like, yeah, bitch, I fucking know. I'm aware. Everybody who actually does follow is aware of feminist principle, is aware of basic consent and all that, wouldn't have to say it. So like, in a way, I say that the author is making him so feminist, is making him so appealing to the female audience. But at the same time, like, by reiterating it so much, I think it just kind of makes it seem a little gimmicky, you know? It's just a little bit inauthentic, because if a real person who really does believe these things and really thinks like, oh, why doesn't he just give it to my sister, and why would I have sex with a person who's drunk, wouldn't have to explain them. Like, that would just be their belief, and they wouldn't have to explain themselves in such explicit terms. It just feels a little bit gimmicky, but it's fine. It's good that he's a feminist, obviously. We find out that the reason he hates his dad so much is because he cheated on her while she was dying of cancer, which is obviously pretty bad. Yeah, his dad sucks, okay? His dad's really bad, but he is really rich. There's this part in the book where Anastasia, they're talking about like family planning and stuff, and Anastasia says that she really wants to adopt whenever she's at the right phase in her life, whenever she's ready for kids. She wants to adopt children. I think that's great. Put a pin in that because we'll be back to it. Actually, I can just talk about it now. There is kind of this emphasis like throughout the book that I think is subtextual, like isn't the intention of the book, is not the author's intention when she was writing this book, but there is kind of this weird emphasis on traditionality in the book of like, you should settle down and have a family, and it is like, I think, a little bit strange and out of place in this very young adult college romance, as in the characters are young adults, college romance. But there is kind of this idea that shines through, that their goal should be, and that their goal is, to eventually have a traditional family. And that's fine and good. There's obviously there's nothing wrong with wanting to settle down and have a traditional family, but it is just like kind of conservative like message that is coming through. And again, I don't think it's intentional. I think this is purely just like the subtext that just like shines through the story. But it is a little bit strange to me that there is, because Anastasia is this very, especially at the beginning of the book, this very sexually liberated character. She's very comfortable with sexuality. She reads smut books, which is some shameless booktok representation, some shameless audience pandering. She is very liberated in her sexuality. She's very comfortable with it. But her goal is, and it seems should be, that the book is telling us should be, to eventually have a traditional family. And I'm going to come back to that at the end. But just keep it in mind that there is just like kind of this underlying conservatism. So Anastasia wants to move back into her own house. Aaron is cleared to skate, so we're all good. Anastasia has been living with Nate this entire time, and I guess that's fine, but also like they're moving so fast. It's a little bit giving Mormon, the way that they just like immediately, like in 3 months, are living together and like already love each other. Obviously like all the premarital sex is not very Mormon, but just the idea, just everything else kind of gives very I guess maybe that's what it is that this idea of immediately wanting to settle down and have kids and have this traditional family feels very religious. religious and like feels very religiously rooted, and that's really not an aspect of the book. And I don't think that, like, I wouldn't mind if it was. I don't really think that that's a problem. I think that a lot, maybe most people do want to eventually have a family and like settle down, so that's not an issue. It's just a little bit, it feels a little bit out of place. Aaron wants to do skating couples counseling and he apologizes, but we do not believe him. He says like, "Oh, I'm better than I was whenever I said all those horrible things about you behind your back. I'm a better man now." It's like, bitch, that was a month ago. That was a week ago. You know, that was better man. You're a better man now. The body isn't cold. And again, there's just a lot of info dumping about how characters feel and backgrounding of the situation, and the book never really just lets the feelings and the effects of an action show naturally. It has to like really spell out to you in very simple, very plain terms what is happening and how the characters are feeling about it and what has led to them feeling this way. It just feels kind of lifeless at times. It doesn't have any soul in it. You know, I think that's what it is. This book just doesn't have any soul. Yeah, but her therapist thinks that she should move out with Nate and move back in with Aaron. Dude, we gotta get that somebody's gotta check your license, because like that dude. I think that at this point I was like, she needs to move out and live by herself, because she cannot be this dependent on all the men around her. And that is something that was kind of starting at this point to irritate me, is that they did kind of develop this almost like codependency that was really not, it was being treated very strictly as like a good thing. And it's just like, she really needs to, like, girl, like, get up. Like, just, you need to stand on your own for a little bit and not define your life by these men around you. You need to be your own person for a second. But she really just like, whatever. She does move back in with Aaron. We get this excruciating paragraph, like this excruciating chapter of just like a long explanation of everything that we've already fucking seen and it's already happened in the book, and all her feelings about it, which we've also already seen. And she and Lola, her friend that she also lives with, want to move out and they want to live by themselves, which I think is great. And then it's the night before a competition. She's waiting and she calls Nate to come sleep with her, like, platonically, so that she's not so nervous in the morning. It's like, girl, you are so reliant on all the men in your life. You can't go a fucking day without this guy. You can't go a day without him in your room. Don't you ever just want to sit by yourself? Maybe this is just me, like, being a very independent person, but just, like, get this man out of your house. Like, just get up. And so Nate goes over to his hockey thing and he learns that Aaron lied about being hurt by the hockey team. Because Aaron's initial assertion was that someone on the hockey team played a prank and he fell, and that's why he broke his arm. But Nate in this chapter learns that Aaron lied about that and he actually got hurt in something completely unrelated. Obviously he lied. I can't believe that you guys for a second believed him. I can't believe that for even a moment you thought that this was I can't believe you didn't realize he lied. Obviously he lied. But then Nate, like, he rushes to go see Anastasia and he sees her perform her or their couples routine. I couldn't remember the word. Their couples routine, and I don't actually remember whether or not she lands her jump. I don't remember if that was... I feel like she must, because the routine goes well, so she must land her triple lutz. But anyway, and then at the very end of the routine, Aaron kisses her as they're like, the crowd is cheering and everyone is cheering. He kisses her. This did get me. As far as drama, I was like, oh shit, he did not just do that. But he did just do that. And Nate is pissed off. And Aaron is all like, why are you upset? you're overreacting. Why are you upset? And this is the straw that broke the camel's back, because Anastasia is like, we're not skating together anymore. I fucking hate you. Die. She doesn't say that. I would. But she hates him. She's like, if we qualify for the next round, tell them I drop out, because we're never skating together again. Get lost. Which is great. Yeah, good for her. And then she and Nate and Lola and JJ, I think, move in together. So this bitch really can't be by herself ever. But yeah, that's kind of how the book ends, is that, you know, they're going to be together now. And if you're wondering, hey, what was the plot? Anyway, there's an epilogue. The epilogue is actually the part that's going to piss me off the worst, because in the epilogue, it's 2 and a bit years later. They live in Seattle. She is still going to see her therapist. She's pregnant. They've had an accident baby, or an accidental pregnancy. So I think that this is a little bit weird, because the book does make this point to have her to tell Nate and also to tell the audience that she wants to adopt a child. Her goal is to adopt. And I think that that's really good. It's a really good way for her storyline to kind of culminate. We have a lot of there's that part where Aaron says that, oh, she's going to baby trap you. There's a lot of kind of talk about pregnancy and stuff like that. And again, there is this kind of underlying idea, this kind of subtextual idea that I was getting coming through, that her goal should be, and that everybody's goal should be, to have a traditional family and to live in this very like traditional kind of conservative family type. And so for the ending to be that she is pregnant rather than that she has adopted a baby, I think is a little bit, doesn't sit great, like doesn't really sit well with me, because it would have been so easy to do this same ending, but she's adopted a baby, or but she's adopted a child. And so like the fact that it is specifically that now she's pregnant when initially she did want to adopt, I think is a little bit weird. And obviously, like, if you want to adopt and you accidentally get pregnant in real life, who gives a shit, right? It's absolutely neutral. It doesn't matter at all. But this is a book, and so like everything in it is orchestrated by the author. It's just everything in it is intentional by the author. So why is it that she can't just adopt a baby? Why does she have to be pregnant at the end? It does kind of seem to be reinforcing this conservative idea that she should have a traditional family and her own, you know, like biological child. And it doesn't really sit that well with me. I think it's a little bit weird. I think it's a weird choice for the book. And I would have liked this epilogue a lot more if she had just adopted a baby, if she was just like holding a baby that she adopted. I just think that's a little bit weird. But at this point, she has won a gold medal for female singles, and Nathan has won the Stanley Cup with his hockey team, the Vancouver whoever's. I don't know hockey. So why the fuck wasn't the book about that? Why did I just read 430 pages of them going to parties and having a Hallmark Christmas, and when I could have been reading about them in the Olympic Village? Why wasn't this, do they have hockey in the Olympics? They must. This book would have been so much better if instead of being like at a college, it was in the Olympic Village, and like it was just them having their really like hot and steamy romance in the Olympic Village, but then they decide to continue it once they get home. That would have been so much better. And they're training for the Olympics together at the same ice rink or something, and then they have to go to the Olympics together, and like that would have been so much better. Why did I just read about her in a college ice rink and him on a college hockey team when I could have been reading about them on Team USA? This is gonna piss me off. Like, And then at the very end, Nate asks her to marry him, and that's how it ends. So why wasn't this entire book just about that? You don't have to change basically anything. Like, they can still be the same age, they can still be college students. You just frame it differently, like from their like, I don't know, a couple months of training, Olympic Village, a couple months after the Olympics. That could have been the book, and it would have been so much better. I would read the shit out of that book. Like, that sounds so good. Why is that the epilogue? Why is that all delivered in like her dialogue in the epilogue? Her speech with her therapist in the I'm gonna need a therapist after this. In my Reckless video, I speculated that the author was from the Midwest based on a couple of things that I noticed in the book, so I want to try to do it with this book just as a fun way to end off the video. So I wrote down a couple of pieces of evidence, and then we're going to Google where she's from and see if I was right. So, point number 1. The book takes place in LA. I think this doesn't matter. I think that LA is one of those places that shows up in media kind of regardless of where the author is from and whether or not the author has actually been there or has any ties to that place. I think we can disregard this. Hockey romance means an awareness of hockey that I think the southern states really don't have. Obviously there are hockey teams in the South, but I think that this is probably an author who is writing from somewhere a little bit more north. But this book really isn't super in tune with like sports culture and American sports culture, so I don't think that it is an author who has like an extensive background in watching sports. I think it really mostly comes from this fantasy of hockey players being hot. So I think that we can disregard that and focus really more on a place that is a little bit more rural, not a city. The girl's Olivia is described as being very beautiful, and she's described as old Hollywood, which I think is a little bit more of a traditional classical sense of beauty. So I think that we're probably gonna go, right now I'm putting us in New England. I'm putting us in upstate New York, Massachusetts, Maine, that kind of area. There's also an excessive use of surnames, which I mentioned briefly, and I don't know very much about California. I don't know if this is a thing that people do in California. Maybe it is. So maybe it's completely accurate to where they are geographically, but I do know that it is a thing in New England. So I'm gonna say that we're probably in New England. And then he wants to play for Vancouver, and Anastasia is from Seattle. So we're in the West, like Northwest US, and then Western Canada. I think that this is a plot device so that they can live close together, which I think is also is confirmed by the epilogue, having them living in Seattle. I think that she wanted a hockey team that's very good and a city that is close to that hockey team but is still in America. So I don't think that this means the author is from Seattle or is from that region of the United States. I actually think that it kind of means she's not, and that maybe she's never been there, because the way that Seattle is described particularly is completely devoid of any real description, any real life. I could not picture Seattle based on this book, and I don't think they go to Vancouver. So that's also kind of true actually of Maple Hills. There's really not a whole lot of, we don't really go outside very much, so there's not a whole lot of explanation of what it looks like, what the culture is there, what the kind of vibe is of the city. So there, I really don't, we're not super grounded really geographically in this region of the US, or really even I guess in the US. So I guess she could be Canadian, but I don't think she is. I don't know. And then I guess finally, my final point is again this idea of traditionalism and conservatism that shows up in the book. And so I think that we are going to be again looking at somewhere a little bit more rural, a little bit more classical, a little bit more traditional. So final answer, New England. I think that she's from New England. I'm so nervous. I feel like I'm wrong. I went back and forth a lot because some of the things made me think Midwest. The thing where they fall in love really fast and they tell each other they love each other very fast. I was like, that kind of gives Midwest. Also, the name Hannah Grace is probably fake, but gives South, gives Mississippi to me, gives Bama Rush. deep, deep south. That's kind of what that name reminds me of. But there's nothing else in the book that gives deep south, so I don't think that's it. Oh, okay, let's find out. Moment of truth. Hannah Grace, author. Hannah Grace is an English author. Old England, England. I forgot that that was even an option. That was very American of me, was forgetting that England even exists. England makes sense. England makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay. That was humbling. But England makes a lot of sense. England does make sense. And I think that all my evidence could also be used for England. So not New England, but the regular one. Damn. Oh, man. What's crazy about this book series is that there's already 3 books in like 2 years. So, I mean, she's working hard. Like, she's cranking them out. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It went on way longer than I thought it would, which is kind of a running theme for my videos. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to get a new one to you very soon. And I will see you in the next one. So, goodbye.